myślę, że nie ujawnię wielkiej tajemnicy, jeżeli powiem, że prezes Daniel Obajtek patrzy na ten sport nie tylko z biznesowego punktu widzenia, jest także wielkim fanem Formuły 1.
Thank you so much for joining us on this very special day. We're in a unique place in the National Theatre in Poland, where we are about to see the new Alfa Romeo Racing ORLEN car for the first time.
Ladies and gentlemen, Formula One is a pinnacle of technology, but it's also a tasteful design, we can say work of art. So let's stay in this artistic atmosphere with the masterpieces of Frédéric Chopin and Giacomo Puccini.
Thank you so much. That was so beautiful, absolutely spectacular and really, really emotional. And I know for a fact that this is a very emotional day for our guests as well.
Thank you very much for outstanding performance by Justyna, Joanna, Krzysztof Herdzisz and Nikola Kołodziejczyk. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it's high time to introduce and to welcome top management of Formula One team, Alfa Romeo Racing ORLEN team. Frédéric Vasseur and Jan Monchot, principal of the team and technical director.
Hello. Hello, gentlemen. Frédéric, the beginning of the new season always comes with great expectations. So tell us more about your emotions right now.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to send a big thank you to ORLEN and to Mr. Obajtek to welcome us on stage today. It's a unique opportunity for the team to launch the car, and it's a unique place. Thank you. For sure, the expectations are always very high, that it's an exciting journey for the team, for all the teams when you are at the launch of the new car. And but now the expectation, it's getting better and better, and that we will see in 2 weeks' time now in Bahrain where we are exactly.
Jan, it was a very, very short time considering unique circumstances to prepare a new car. Could you let us some words how it worked, how you do it?
So last year was a bit of a special year. We returned after 9 weeks of exceptional break with a brand new regulation. And not only did the FIA change some technical aspects that meant a lot of performance loss for us and forced us to recover as much as we could, but also a very important decision was made with respect to the amount of things you could change on the car, especially on the heavy cost-intensive elements. So when we returned, we had to get used to these new rules, and we spent quite some time trying to figure out where are we going to invest our resources on, because compared to a standard season, we wouldn't be redoing the entire new car. So a lot of parts actually are common to the predecessor, and it was an exercise to find out for us where do we invest our token to maximize the return on investment. And then from that point onwards, the development has been quite classic, to some extent even a bit simpler compared to other years, because we were not allowed to start working on the 2022 car. So all our resources were then focused on the actual car you will soon see.
Frederick, could you tell us a bit more about goals for the team? I already know that you don't like to put the exact number on it.
No, I think the most important for a racing team is to try to always improve. To put a goal is sometimes a limitation, and I think honestly that we want to improve, that all the team is motivated by the same target, and we have to, step by step, to come back at the top of the midfield. But we know that it's a long path, but we are working on it, and we are improving step by step.
Jan, a very short time to build a new car, to build your new Challenger, but as well a very short period, very short time for testing, this time only 3 days. What does that mean for you?
Well, it's going to be frantic. 3 days are effectively quite short compared to a previous season. Now, as I said before, the car carries over a lot of components, so let's say theoretically the risk to have a bad surprise is reduced. But I expect those 3 days to be very hectic on the track, with all the teams trying to put maximum mileage. So to make sure you have the reliability, but also tick off the box with respect to the performance expectation. Good thing will certainly be the weather, because the temperature should be a bit higher than what we usually face in Barcelona, and therefore the work on the new car and the new tires, because we are also going to have new tires this season, will be certainly more representative than when it's 4 or 5 degrees in Barcelona. So no, we are extremely excited and are really looking ahead now to get started.
Frederick, so it's not only shorter winter testing, but also on an unusual venue, at least considering last years. How does that affect your preparations?
Yeah, for sure, the winter break was a bit shorter than usual, but as Jan said before, that we will carry over the car, or a large part of the car, and doesn't matter for me. That the most important is to be back on track and to race again. Everybody's exciting with this, and I can't wait for the beginning of the season now, even if the break was short. It was too long for me.
Do you think you will stay the same after the 23 races calendar?
I'm not sure, but at least I have to enjoy the journey. Thank you.
So when we said, 23 events in a calendar, it means that logistics is probably on the limit.
Yeah, it's true that it's becoming more and more difficult, but I think all the team is more than passionate, and we have to deal with that. I remember that a couple of years ago that teams they were also doing 25 or 30 or 45 tests there a year, that we are not in this situation. We are racing, it's much more exciting, and I perfectly enjoy the situation.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for being here with us. Frederic and Jan, they already know what we are just about to see. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment we've all been waiting for.
Your patience has been rewarded. Here you are, C41 in its full glory.
It's a great pleasure to welcome to the stage Kimi Räikkönen,
Antonio Giovinazzi.
and Robert Kubica.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think there are not so many proper adjectives to describe the beauty of the car. Ladies and gentlemen, we are happy to have these guys together with us, and obviously we want to know what they think about the new car, what they think about this season. Kimi, the question for you. It's C41 ahead of us, and in the middle of March, you have first tests with the car. What are your expectations for this season?
Obviously, first of all, it's nice to always see the new car, and but yeah, we are very in the area of unknown yet. There's some rule changes, and how is that going to impact everybody, and where we're going to be. Hopefully, we are better off than we were last year, and you know, we'll get some idea in testing in a couple of weeks' time, and in one month's time in the first race, we really know where we are. But yeah, we'll do our best wherever we end up to be.
Antonio, so this is your office for 2021. In Formula One, they say that if the car is beautiful, it's also fast. So what do you think about this one? Is it beautiful?
Yeah, of course, you know, every season when you see for the first time the car, you're really exciting. And but yeah, this year look the most beautiful one from the 3 years I was here in the team. I hope also is faster one. And yeah, just looking forward for the first test when we will drive the car for the first time, and hopefully he is fast straight away, and we can have a great achievement for the season.
We are extremely happy to have Robert together with us. Robert Kubica, third and reserve driver of the team. Everybody knows it's great responsibility to test the car, to help Antonio and Kimi. Robert, you would spend a lot of time in simulator, but also on a track. How does your work help the team in progress?
Well, first of all, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here. I think for me, coming from Poland, to have this kind of event, first presentation in Poland is amazing, and I think we have to all thank you, our main partner, PK and ORLEN. So yeah, thanks to them. I think it's not only for me, but for all Polish fans, a special day. Regarding my position and my role in the team is very clear. Of course, with limited time and limited testing in current Formula 1 days, simulators are quite important, and we try to, of course, work as hard as we can on track and off track. Simulator in our team is a quite new tool, so there is quite a lot of things to work on it. But of course, the main results you can see on track, and winter testing will be quite crucial. And of course, as last year, I hope I will get some opportunities to jump in the car during the season on Fridays FP1, so just to get myself into the rhythm and also to be updated regarding how is evolving our car.
Antonio, so only 3 days of pre-winter testing this year. How does that make your job difficult? Because I can imagine it makes it really difficult.
Yeah, it will be difficult, but in the end, it will be same for everyone. So I think for us is we stay with the same lineup, and we stay there just in November, end of November, so not long ago. And I hope just we can do a lot of laps, try to get a lot of data, and we'll have a good compare with the car from the previous year, and yeah, we can work from there for the first race.
Guys, thank you very much for being here. We will see you all in a minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, in the middle of March, a 3-day test in Bahrain of a new car. And at the end of March, the first race of the season.
And we have no doubt that racing fans all around the world will follow really closely this beautiful car. Ladies and gentlemen, Alfa Romeo Racing ORLEN team, all ready for 2021.
The team, which is also a great family. So obviously, it's the time for family photo. And as we see, Frederick Vasseur has a special gift for President Daniel Obajtek. Fantastic gift to great Formula One fan. It's fantastic day for us. We are in Warsaw, we are in Poland for the first presentation of Formula One Challenger for a car which is also wearing a proud ORLEN name.
Now it's time to say goodbye to our TV audience, but we are still staying with our online viewers. Goodbye from Warsaw and see you on track.
And thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Właśnie, no. O, dobra.
Hello again. Welcome to the interview session with Frederic Vasseur and Jan Monchon, and hopefully they will tell us more about the preparations for this new season. So, Frederic, as we know, the regulations for this season were postponed, but I believe it's as well a big job to be done. It was a big job to be done before this season, considering even, you know, the lack of great new changes.
Yeah, the FIA and FOM decided last year to postpone the regulation to 22. I think it was a real good move considering the situation with the COVID last year. And the winter break was a bit strange because that will carry over a big part of the car. But in the other end, we have a change of regulation, and we have to do the best with the regulation we have. And it's always the same story. Doesn't matter if we carry over a part of the car or not. The goal is always the same.
But it's as well a question whether the gap between the cars, the gap between the teams will be the same, or you will have, let's say, smaller distance.
I hope that we will close the gap, that we have a huge expectation on some areas of the car, and we know that we'll do a good step forward. Now that you can't know exactly before the first test day that where you are, and it's always the same story. Everybody is convinced at this stage of the season that we will, every single team will do a good job and the best results and so. But at the end, only one driver and one team will win the championship. And that we have to be clear on this. But we have huge expectation, and we will see what happens.
Jan, so let's talk a bit more about the car. What does it share with the previous one, and where does it differ from its predecessor?
I think it's short to explain by listing where the largest changes are. So from regulation, we couldn't change all the structural components on the car. We decided to invest our two token on a new nose. So the nose box and the crash box obviously is brand new, which was mainly driven for aero reason. Then obviously we reworked massively the front suspension, the front wing and the front drum, where the guys invested a lot of effort, as well as the barge board, so all the deflector in front of the car. And the rest of the effort was mainly on the floor, the diffuser, the part usually you don't necessarily see between the rear tires, where due to the change of the regulation, we lost a lot of performance on the floor, on the diffuser, and on the rear drum. And there, yes, we put all our efforts to try to recover the loss. Which means in return, all those things I haven't listed in a very simple way are carry over. So the chassis is the same, the gearbox is obviously the same, most of the rear suspension as well, because of the regulation. And then for, let's say, more return of investment reason, we decided also to carry over some extra components like the radiators and some part of the bodywork. To really, in the short time we had, with the resources we had, to concentrate on the areas we were expecting to provide the highest return on investment. And we will see in a couple of weeks' time if the choices we made were correct.
And tell us a bit more about the development plan for this season, considering two things. First, the quite strict regulations and this big technical revolution ahead.
Well, 2022 is really going to be a new era for the techniques in Formula One. So we are, and it's a great opportunity for us as a relatively small team to try to catch up with the rest of the field. So it's going to be a crucial year for us. And with this in mind, and the fact that in 2021, for the first time, we saw the introduction of a budget cap, which means you can only develop with a given amount of resources, and they are limited. It's a trade-off we have to do, and every team will do, between how much they spent on the actual car, the car we just presented, and how much will go to next year's car. And I think every team will tendentially be stopping earlier the development of the 2021 car to have maximum resources on next year's car. Now, it doesn't mean we are not going to develop the car. We do plan to have evolutions in the first races and are still working a little bit in the wind tunnel on this car. And we will see how the season unfolds. If we are forced to do a bit more than we were hoping, or if we can start a touch earlier. But it's certainly going to be a different season in terms of the race, of the techniques, as most of the team will have an eye on 22, and because of the budget cap, simply can't afford developing in parallel two cars. So we'll see.
Frederick, budget cap, as Jan mentioned, there as well slight changes in regulations, but on the other hand, it's a revolution considering this year's calendar. The first time in the history of Formula One, 23 races. What does that mean for the team from logistic point of view, and as well 2 new circuits?
Yeah, that we'll have two new circuits with Saudi and Zandvoort. Zandvoort is not brand new, but some of us went before. But for sure, 23 races is a big challenge for not only for logistic. For logistic, it's a big challenge, but it's a big challenge also for the guys into the team, the mechanics, the engineers, and the team to provide parts on. Sometimes we have 3 races in a row. That it will be a big challenge, but I would say that the motivation from the team and the passion from the team is so huge today that I think that we can easily afford this kind of challenge. You have to remember that in the past we did up to 35 or 40 test days. It's not the case anymore. We are racing. I think racing is much more exciting than test days, and that the passion is there, and this is the most important.
You have the same driver lineup 2nd year in a row. How does it help team to develop? How accurate is the feedback?
Yeah, I think it was on purpose, because that we will have only 3 test days this winter, and we won't lose time to know each other and to build up the relationship. The relationship between both of them and the drivers and the team is a good one, that we are now working together for a couple of years, and that the relationship is there, and this is very important to just to improve and step by step, and to trust the guy who is in front of you when you are in a meeting, and this is crucial.
Thank you very much, Frederick. Thank you very much, Jan. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of our meeting in Warsaw, in Poland, the first presentation of Formula One car in Poland. We'd like to invite all media for 1:10 for press conference, which will be devoted to accredited media.
A very, very good morning once again from National Theatre in Warsaw. Thank you for joining us today. We are very excited for sure. Andrzej Borowczyk.
Aldona Marciniak.
Good morning.
Good morning. I think it's good afternoon at the moment. So the press conference for international media, we are very, very extremely happy to be here together with our heroes, with the drivers and top management of Alfa Romeo Racing ORLEN team. As you know, the press conference is an online system. That's for obvious reasons. And we already have lots of questions. So I believe our hero, our guests will be overworked. So Aldona, it's, I believe, the best moment to start with.
Of course. Let's start with Adam Wheeler from the Pit Stop crew online. The question to Frederick and Jan. There are some restrictions in terms of development of the car this year. What were you able to significantly improve?
Well, I think, again, the main topic will be probably the aerodynamic. Even if we have some restriction and change into the regulation, we have still some freedom to develop the car on the aero side. And we did it, but now it will be, as always, some choice, and it doesn't matter if you develop the car, that you have to do a better job than the others. And we did some good improvement. The FIA decided to change the regulation, to slow down the car, and I think that we came back at a decent level.
Jan, anything to add?
No, the boss is always right, so... No, in general, the freedom we have on the aero side are still quite large. Freezing some key element of the car from the regulation has certainly reduced a little bit our margin of freedom, but where you can do most on the barge board, on the front wing, on the diffuser, the regulation have not changed. So effectively, a lot of effort went into this. What has changed is a further reduction of what you can test in the wind tunnel, so the amount of tests you are allowed to do, which has dropped order of magnitude something like 20% compared to previous year. So that's clearly impacting all the teams the same way, and forces you to think even harder than before you burn a wind tunnel test to try a new idea. But all in all, we can't really say for this car that there were some strong restriction on the aero. 2022 certainly is another challenge, because a lot of the artifacts you see on those cars, all the small deflector, barge boards, the very complex arrangement of deflectors you have in front of the side pod and between the front tire, for instance, disappears. And there it is already another challenge, because you have per se less freedom to try new shapes. But that's more for 22.
I think we have more or less the same things to be developed. In a question by Scott Mitchell from the Race.com, I think it's a good question to Jan. What have the development tokens been spent on? And how much further development is planned, or is the focus fully to 22?
So the two tokens we've been using on the new nose. So we have changed the nose structure, a new crash box. So that was worth 2 tokens. So our 2 tokens were invested in this change. And you can see on the picture that the nose is an evolution, and quite an advanced evolution of last year's concept, but a bit more extreme. So that's the area where we've been using those tokens. What we can expect for the season, probably less intense race of updates compared to previous years. I would think that a lot of teams are thinking about damping a little bit the amount of efforts and amount of updates they will bring during the season, to concentrate on the 2022 car, because as we are now on the budget cap restriction, we have just that much we can burn, So if you have 100 and you spend 80 on 21, you will still have only have 20% left on 22, which no team will do. So I think there will be a shift on the effort on the actual car versus the other car, where most of the team will certainly drop the effort earlier than usual. I mean, for an example, last year we've been bringing updates, I think, until Istanbul, Portimao, so towards the end of the season. I would be very surprised we are still doing this season, simply because what we give to this year's car is lost for next year's car, and next year's car is really an important milestone for us as a team, because it will be an opportunity also to close the gap to the rest of the field.
So now the question to our all three drivers, the question from Michał Gąsiorowski, 11 Sports. What do you expect from the sprint races in 2021? Antonio, do you want to start?
Yeah, I think in the past I did already something like this in F2. Of course, was a different one because it was a reverse grid. But you know, Formula One is always try something new. We'll see what happened this year. But yeah, I think it's something that, like I say, already did. It was not too bad.
Kimi?
Honestly, I don't know what is exactly they are planning, but we'll, you know, whatever it is, we'll see how it plays out, and obviously we try to do our best. So, you know, we'll have to wait and see.
Robert, is it a good idea to add some emotions to the spectacle?
Well, I can say only as a spectator, because I'm not planned to do them. So I think, you know, in the end it will not make massive difference. I don't think a format is a key point of making Formula One more spectacular. For sure there are pros and cons, but yeah, I don't have, to be honest, a clear view. I still like what we had in the past. It's a common, you know, DNA of Formula One that Saturday we have qualifying. It will be strange to have Friday qualifying, at least from, I think, spectator point of view.
We have one more question concerning technical aspects, this time from Mark Hughes from Motorsport magazine. Hello, Mark. Thank you very much for joining us. So the question is to Jan. How much are you using the in-loop simulator now, and how is it progressing?
Well, the driver in the loop simulator, we bought it end of 19. And effectively, we're aiming to use 2020 to bring it at a decent level. Unfortunately, the plans were soon put aside because of the COVID crisis. So we've certainly, due to the anticipated long shutdown, and then also some, let's say, internal issues we had, we certainly have been losing 3-4 months on the development path, which we are now with extra efforts trying to accelerate. It slowly, not yet, but slowly, we are getting at a level where we hope it will start becoming a useful tool. So certainly the 2021 car, which is behind me, hasn't really benefited from the simulator. We need to also be careful, because if we jump too early on a tool that is not properly calibrated and on which you have not confidence, you can also take decisions that you would pay dearly a year later on the new car. So we are planning to, actually the plan is more to ramp it up, do a lot of correlation before and after the event, mainly with a race driver, to build that confidence we need, and step by step then start also using the tool as a decision element in the process. Currently it is not yet at that point. I hope the 2022 car will already somehow take advantage of this new tool.
Frederic, now 3 questions in one for you from Lawrence Barreto from F1. So, how has the relationship with Ferrari evolved over the winter? Are you taking more parts, and have you taken on any of their stuff?
I will try to have just one reply. No, the collaboration with Ferrari is, I think, is going very well. That we had a strong meeting, a long meeting during the winter to cover the points that of last year when perhaps that we didn't do the perfect job, but we are on the good path. I think that on their side they will recover probably a large part of the issue that we had last year, and collaboration is getting better and better. Now we won't take some of their stuff, perhaps one or two elements, but not much more. And I think it's not the key point of the collaboration. The key point of the collaboration is that to be convinced that we can learn from each other and in the scope of the regulation, and we have to play with this and to do the best job that we can do.
One more question to Frederick. Malvina Kozak from F1 Tech Club is interested if there are any changes concerning this year, living in a bubble, if there are any exclusions for those who are vaccinated or recovered from COVID.
No, so far I think honestly the protocol last year worked very well. That if you have a look on the number of tests that we did during the season and the number of positive cases, it was a very, very low percentage, and we were able to be back on track quite early for an international sport. We were probably the first one, and with the protocol in place, that we were able to do the 17 races plan. That it was a huge effort from the FIA, from the FOM, from the team. All the personnel from the team, including drivers, we all pay a lot of attention to this. Now vaccination, it's another story, because it's quite, from my point of view, it's quite impossible to jump the queue, and we can deal with the current protocol. That it went pretty well last year, and we have to stick to it.
Robert, this one is for you from Przemysław Garczyński. If you have to choose two things, the best and the worst, connected with responsibilities of test and development driver, what would it be? The good thing and the bad thing.
Well, I think the best is that you get the opportunity to drive F1 car. The worst one is watching the others racing. They are both connected, but if you are a race driver, it's normal you would like to race. That's why, of course, I still combining also this year my F1 duties with different series. So I will be able to race, and then I can mix two things. I can have both of them, driving F1 car and racing. But definitely, watching the others racing, F1 especially is something which all drivers are dreaming of. I did have a chance to race, of course, in the past. So I'm not that young anymore. So also my priorities are a bit different. But still, let's say the passion and the wish of racing, being there on Sunday, is quite high. But reality is that I know my place in the team, within the team, my position, my role, and I try to do my best in my job.
And do you already know your program? I mean, how often will those guys let you in the car?
Well, I think this is not a question to me, first of all. Second of all, of course, with changing the format of the weekends, this is making also a bit more complicated, and I think we'll have to all sit down and decide. But I hope, it's not an easy call, because from one side I have been a race driver, and I know how important it is to be in the car as a race driver. So I'm not that keen to take FP1s away from our race driver, but of course I will never say no if I get the chance.
So one more question to Robert, this time connected not only with Formula One, as you can imagine. Julia Paradowska from Pit Stop Crew Online is interested in your program in European Le Mans Series. What are your objectives for this coming season in this new project for you?
Well, first of all, it's a great opportunity which I will have to discover a new car, new series, but also a bit of different way of racing and approach to those races. As our endurance races, you are sharing the car with your teammates. Endurance racing, although many people is associating them as reliability races, but those races are actually very long sprint races from performance point of view. Definitely the field is very, very competitive in European Le Mans Series. But we are, of course, working on getting ready. And first of all will be to learn as much as I can and try to do something good. Of course, when you are putting a helmet on and jumping in the car, is always, you want to always do your best and try to bring home some good results. And I think this will be, let's say, a goal.
One more question from Adam Wheeler. This one is to Kimi. Kimi, this will be your 19th season in Formula One. So firstly, how did you spend the off-season? How did you treat it? And how invigorated are you for the upcoming season?
How did I spend it? Just with the family, relaxed. Some point started to do training for this year, and very, very normal life, really. Nothing special. So, and obviously, we're excited for the year, but it's very unknown because we haven't tried a car. There's obvious rule changes where we're gonna be. We don't know, but in few weeks' time, obviously we'll see from testing how things are running and how the car is feeling, and roughly in 1 month's time in the first race, everybody will see where everybody is. So it's gonna be not many days before the first race, so we have to do a good 3 days and put laps, learn a lot from the car, and see what we get.
So being the most experienced Formula One driver, what is it that still excites you in Formula One?
Obviously the racing and the driving. I've never been a big fan of all the rest, but otherwise if you take that out, for sure it's not anymore the same. But I enjoy the racing and the challenge of to try to improve things and getting better.
And now we have one more technical question. It's this time from Ed Stroll. Thank you very much, Ed, for joining us. I believe Jan will be happy to answer. How big a gain is expected from the nose change, and why have you not gone for a more aggressively narrow concept that we've seen from other teams?
It's part of a front-end concept, changing the nose. So the nose in itself, when it was changed, and it has to, it's part of the overall concept of the front end, how we manage CUI 250 vortex being generated by the front wing, how the later then interacts with all the deflectors, turning vanes, and barge board we have behind. So let's say that changes we've done on the front wing, which allowed us to extend or take more advantage of what we call the cape, which is this kind of horizontal plate emerging from the nose, has helped us to have a better control of the front wheel wake and therefore push it a bit more out, which is usually what all the aerodynamicists try to do in F1. I can't really quote a number because when it was done originally in the tunnel, it was positive. But we are usually not redoing a check 6 months later to try to see then with a new barge board, with a new front wing, how much better the new nose was. It was exhibiting some very interesting feature in terms of flow quality, and at that point we elected to leave it on. With respect to the others, we certainly look what the others are doing. There's no F1 team not doing this, but we follow our own criteria, and having a front wing concept which is now in its third year or so, which is also quite different from many other teams. Some of the solution we are looking for and finding might look slightly different than the others. It doesn't mean they are wrong. That doesn't mean we are right. I have no crystal ball. But it's for us at that time when we elected to go for this new nose, it made sense.
Kimi, so still on the subject of you being the most experienced F1 driver from Malvina F1 Tech Club, how do you feel having Fernando Alonso on your back with 312 Grand Prix? You have 330.
Honestly, for me, the numbers doesn't really mean much, and I'm sure, you know, whenever I stop, somebody will have more, and then when the next guy stops, some of the younger guys probably will have more. So, you know, we'll try to do our best, and the results are more important, and for sure than the amount of races I've done.
And we've got a question to Frederick. The question from Adam Wheeler from the Pit Stop Crew Online. You have invested in a new wind tunnel and advanced simulator. How are these upgrades going? Is there some optimism for the improvement of Alfa Romeo?
Yeah, it's not the case on the wind tunnel because the wind tunnel is there. But it's true that we invested a lot of money and energy onto the simulator, and it will pay off at one stage. That it's we are really at the early stage of the project. We are putting a lot of effort on it, and I'm really convinced that we will get the first updates and informations, and it will pay off quite soon. But it's a long-term project. We knew before we launched the simulator, and we are sticking to the plan.
Antonio, now I would like to ask you, because it's your third season in Formula One, so how have these 3 years changed you as a driver? Do you feel that you're performing now at a higher level?
Yeah, of course, I felt much more ready this season compared when I came here in 2019. Still, I think need to do more another step. What I did already from first season to second season, and yeah, I think this is my target on like a driver for this season, and try to improve in some points where I was struggling more last year, and this is what I did during the winter, and what I will do during this season.
And we've got a question from Giuliana Cesaroli concerning the restriction. It's to Fred, I believe. It's Swiss journalist, lady journalist, and concerning the restrictions which appeared in Switzerland now. Yes, aren't you afraid that having this kind of restrictions there will be a problem for the team?
Honestly, no. That restrictions are everywhere. It's probably also very drastic in UK, and the majority of the team are coming from UK. Now the situation is like it is, and we are sticking to the protocol. We did, I think, an impressive job last year, not us as a team, but the global paddock and all the teams, the FIA, the FOM. We have to deal with the restriction, but I think that it won't be an issue at all.
If I may ask all the drivers, how did you get used to the bubble you had to live in last year? Is it? I mean, it's a sacrifice worth taking if you can go racing, I imagine. But are you prepared to do the next season in similar circumstances? Antonio, would you start?
Yeah, of course, was not an easy one. You know, I still remember that coming back from the race, you know, we didn't spend much time in the factory because I was need to traveling to Switzerland, cannot go to any restaurant, so just to take out, to spend some time out of the racetrack. So it was completely different, just home, gym, and back at home. And then at the track for the race. I think, to be honest, this year, especially in the first part of the season, will be quite similar. But I hope, that finally, at one moment in the season, we can come back on the normal situation, and actually also to see back fans on the grandstand, because I think this was one of the part that we missed during last season.
Kimi?
Yeah, not much to add. I think on beginning was slightly different, but I think it's going to be similar than what we had last year. So it's let's say the new normal, and it's just different. But it all worked out okay, and obviously it's a bit more quiet at the tracks, less people. But I think generally, everybody is more used to it, and it works okay. We can go racing. Everybody's trying to stay as safe as we can, and so far it's been working well.
Robert, you will have 2 bubbles.
Yeah, well, it's a bit more complicated when you are doing 2 different series, and but in the end, it's the only way to compete against COVID-19, and I think, as Fred says, and Kimi and Antonio, but especially, as Fred mentioned, the teams and the organizer FIA did an amazing job to put up the season last year, and all teams and all members on track, off track. I think they are doing a really good job, and especially for them, I assume it's not easy. The mechanics, the people who are flying around the world, having family at home, and they cannot even see them for a very, very long time. It's a definitely hard period, but as Fred mentioned, all team has done a really good job last year, and we will be focusing on doing the same and respecting the rules. And as I said, this is the only way, and in the end, we have to stick together. And one day, hopefully, we will be able to welcome back fans and come back to, let's say, what we were used to already 14, 15 months ago. But until now, it's the priority is to compete against COVID, and everyone is doing their best.
And now we have the question to Kimi, a question from Hungary. Daniel Meyer from GP Hirek, it's a website, is interested whether Kimi is still having in his mind that it was 20 years ago, 4th of March, it was his first race for Sauber team, and he would like to know any special, let's say, ceremony concerning, this event, your first start, and what could you say to yourself just now, just having in mind you've been 20 years old, and as I remember, only 17 races in single-seater cars.
Time goes quickly. Obviously, it's quite a long time ago, but then I was a couple of years out of F1 and kind of in the middle of it, so it doesn't feel like 20 years. So I wouldn't say anything. I didn't know that much F1. Obviously, I'd done testing the year before a bit, and then the pre-season test, and but yeah, most of the places were new, and was just try to learn and do the best that I could, and it worked out okay. So I wouldn't really have anything to say.
So Frederick, I think we will end with you, or depend on your answer, actually. So you have 2 very experienced driver in the team with Kimi and Robert. How much does it help, especially in a season like this when you have to prepare for a big regulation change?
I think that now the F1 is going in another direction compared to the past and the first discussion we had, with less and less testing. That we have to be ready when you are going on track. That it means that to have an experienced guy into the car, it makes more than sense. And regarding Robert, that the input he had last year with us, even if we didn't do all the sessions, but when he was the opportunity to drive the car in FP1, it was a huge push for us. Now the simulator is ready to be developed, and a large part of the job will be to do the correlation on track with the track, and Robert will be back into the car each month or each 2 months, that to be sure that the correlation is the good one. And I'm really convinced that to have experienced guys and the combination with Antonio, that is a bit more young, let's say, and it's a good combination. The lineup is working well, and I can't wait to be at the first one.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here today with us. Thank you for bringing this beautiful car to Warsaw. Antonio Giovinazzi, Kimi Räikkönen, Robert Kubica, Jan Monchon and Frederick Vasseur were our guests.
We've been in the National Theatre in Warsaw for the first press conference after unveiling a new Alfa Romeo Racing ORLEN Challenger. I hope our colleagues, I'm sure, not only hope, I'm sure our colleagues from the team, from the media department are always happy to answer for your all questions, and you will follow the events connected with the team. You will follow Bahrain tests with our drivers. You will follow 23 races during this season. So thank you very much once more. Bye-bye from Warsaw, from Poland.